Gavel again. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to wonderful Macon, Georgia. I'm so excited that we're able to do our second day with our official Committee of the Whole Board meeting in Macon, as we've taken the show on the road, and I hope everybody enjoyed yesterday and touring Vinewood Academy and seeing what the Leader in Me is doing here in Bibb County. Taking that show on the road too, and so we're excited about that. And I wanted to introduce and invite Blake Sullivan, who you all have had a chance to get to know over the past day, to give us some words of inspiration, lead us in the pledge and invocation as well. And Blake, we're just excited about what's going on with Leader in Me. You've worked hard on that for close to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And it's grown from a couple of schools in Bibb County to the entire county, and now 28 schools. And hopefully we can keep expanding. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you this morning. Bible Academy yesterday, one of 32 schools in Macon Bibb. We have Leader in Me from K through 12. Every one of our schools is a Leader in Me school. And so we're grateful for that. So we're watching kids as they progress from elementary to middle to high school. Fun to watch leadership take root and watch them grow and in their leadership skills. So that's a lot of fun. This next move, introduce it into the state, is really thrilling for me to be able to increase that. We already had about 120 schools, counting our 32 in the state, and this gives us an extra 28. And so I'm really excited to see more kids learn how to be leaders of themselves. So that's going to be great. So thank y'all for coming to Macon. Thank you for touring the school. I hope you were impressed with the children more than anything else. I'd like to spend just a minute, if it's okay, talking a little bit about the power of a teacher on leadership. And I want to use three people here from this area. One of them, after the Civil War, her parents started an inn over in Knoxville, Georgia, which is about 20 minutes away from here. They had a daughter. Her name was Joanna. Joanna was about 14 years old and helped run the inn for them, but she also went to school. And she had been given a book about the American Revolution and the impact of a flag and what it meant to men and women who were struggling to have freedom from England. About the same time as she was somewhere around 1870, Texas was struggling for independence. A group of men from Macon, about 60 of them, met here in downtown Macon, where you were last night, and decided to head out to Texas to fight for independence. And so they brought out their provisions and they started on the road to Columbus and eventually to Mississippi and then out into Texas to join the fight against Santa Anna for the Texas freedom out there. And they stopped in Knoxville at this inn and spent the night. Joanna was so taken with going out and seeing people go fight for freedom and had read a book about the flag that Betsy Ross had made for the United States. So she decided to make a flag to send it out with the men who were going out to fight. She took a white piece of cloth and cut it out into the shape of a flag, found a blue piece of cloth and cut out a star, put the star in the middle of the flag, and then she stitched liberty or death underneath it. Those men took that flag and all the way out to Texas, and they went to a small fort out there called Gilead, where they engaged Santa Anna. Santa Anna brought all the Mexican troops there, surrounded this little fort, caused the men to surrender. Before they surrendered, though, they negotiated a way. They said, look, we'll leave the battlefield, send us to New Orleans, and we won't come back and fight you anymore. Santa Anna took all the men, marched them outside the gate, marched them down the road, and had them murdered. But he didn't go back to this fort. And the flag that those guys had got here in Knoxville Georgia, was hanging over that fort. Because of the severity of what happened, the Texas freedom fighters took that flag and they used it as inspiration to go and finally dispose of Santa Anna and fight for Texas independence. You probably know that flag. It's the Texas state flag today. And Joanna Troutman, small girl, age 14, read a book given to her by a teacher, made a flag, and that flag became the freedom inspiration for those fighters who went to Texas to gain freedom from Santa Anna. Power of a teacher is amazing. Second story I want to tell you is about a lady named Ruth Mosley. She grew up in Savannah, loved to read, but cared about people, and so she studied nursing. She got her nursing degree, and she went up, became head nurse of the state hospital in Milledgeville at age 24. She became the first African-American head nurse in the state of Georgia. Why? Because of the power of a teacher. She married, moved to Macon, became one of the wealthiest landowners in this city, and died in 1973 and left a pretty big estate to send kids to school to study nursing. Not just any kids, but African-American children go to school to do that. And then the last person I'd like to tell you about the power of a teacher is a lady down in southwest Georgia. She was born in Texas in the late 1800s and moved to southwest Georgia and went to a very poor rural school. But she had got her education up north, and she said, you know, I need to take all this great things that they teach in the schools up north and bring it down to these poor people who live in the southwest part of Georgia. So she brought the classics, and she taught kids to be able to think and to read and do these things, and became an inspiration to so many. You probably know her by her quotes that have been widely read, but two things stuck out to me. She taught all of her students two things. Number one, be willing to take a risk and be willing to fail because of it. And number two, this has been highly quoted. She told every one of her students, we must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles. And you may not know this lady, but there's a high school that's honor her, and it's in a little town in southwest Georgia called Plains. And she was the high school teacher, President and Mrs. Carter. And because of that, she inspired both of them to achieve things that they never thought they could have achieved. Of course, President Carter went to Annapolis, the Naval Academy, and then later became President of the United States. But I tell you all this because it was the power of a teacher to impact a leader to do things extraordinary that they never would have done before. And those are just a few stories that come from here in Georgia. My hope is that by teaching kids skills like we do with Leader in Me, that what will happen is we'll inspire leaders for future generations to do things that they never thought possible that they could do. And if we can do that, light the imagination and light the passion and the fire, no telling what will happen in our state or in our nation. And I'm thankful that this next generation, I'm just so excited for all the things that they might accomplish. We can't even dream about. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work that you do. With that, I'd like to offer a prayer and then lead in the pledge of allegiance. So we'll bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the beauty of your earth and the beautiful natural resources that you provide all around us. We thank you, Lord, that we are here at a school that cares for children with a big disability to overcome that and to function in the world and to be your gift and allow them to accomplish their full potential. I pray, Lord, that you'll give the men and women gathered here today wisdom and revelation, that they can do the work that impacts so many. And I pray, Lord, that your providential grace would continue to bless our country and bless our state. And I ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
So if you will, stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, let's give a big round of applause for Blake. We appreciate, I think everybody saw firsthand what's going on in Bibb County with Leader in Me, how we're taking that statewide with this next series of schools, and we hope that in 2024 we can keep expanding that. And it's just amazing. I remember when you had this idea with the DP and with One Macon, and it was very obvious that kids were not learning soft skills, as we call them. They were not learning that at home. They needed to learn it from somewhere. And it goes beyond just teaching them leadership skills. We have to be innovative at what we are teaching our kids in school now. We have to think about how, as times change, we have to change what we teach them and what they learn in school. We have to keep up with, make sure they're getting what they need so that when they become employees. Appreciate all that you've done, and thank you for the tour and everything yesterday and for the dinner last night. And it's great to hear from Mr. Covey. Bringing him out here and having him join us was great. So thank you for everything again. We appreciate that. And you're welcome anytime to come visit us. We appreciate it. We've got some guests here. It's kind of a smaller crowd today. Mr. Scott Johnson, who obviously you were a board member, right? But Scott is joining us today in his new role as chair of the new Literacy Council. I've asked Mr. Johnson if he would give us just a brief overview. We have a member of the council here, Stan Pajarna, is on that council. And we had several board members that attended that first meeting that was in Statesboro a couple of weeks ago. But I just asked Scott to kind of give us an overview and sort of a roadmap maybe of what's going to happen in the coming months. Because I know you've got another meeting, I think, scheduled in, I can't remember when, but it's in Atlanta, right? That's the next one. So we look forward to hearing from you. We've also got Donald Head, who is now the head of the State Charter School Commission. We've been working with you. We've been working with you for years through GOSA, and now you're just different office. And you're in charge now, right? We also got Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris is here. Thank you for everything. We appreciate seeing you here, and I believe we've got some goodies from you that you have to meet, right? Great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and start building our consent agenda, and I will turn to start first with budget. And Mr. Johnson, do we have some items for consent agenda?
Yes, sir. Budget committee met yesterday and advanced items 1 through 11 to the consent agenda.
1 through 11 consent budget. All right. For rules, what do we have?
So we have 5 items, but we're going to pull item 1, the adoption, for separate vote, probably see discussion. And then, so we have items 2 through 5.
2 through 5 consent, and we pull item 1. All right. We'll go to charter flexibility. Mr. Sweet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 2 items we discussed yesterday, and both items will be consent.
Items 1 and 2. All right, thank you, sir. And Mr. Benton, do we have any other items for the consent agenda?
I make a recommendation to follow consent agenda, the individual student waivers, the minutes of the July 19th, 2023 executive session, the minutes of the July 2023 state board meeting, the August 2023 personnel report, and the August 2022 legal report, section 3 legal opinions, 7 and 4 for separate vote, 2023-43, 2023-46,
any other matters that need to be placed on the consent agenda as we build them? Before we go, also, there was a public hearing, State Board Rule 160-3-1-.07. It is my understanding that no one has signed up to speak on that. Is that still the case? Okay. No. I'll open the hearing, but there's no one to speak, so it's closed. We're building consent agenda. That's it. So we'll take a 10-minute break, have the consent agenda, and then I'll listen to Saturday. I was speaking.
Wait.
One more thing?
No.
One more thing? All right, 10-minute recess, we'll come back with the consent agenda.
Stan told me to ask you to wait.
Hold on. Never wait.
Just had so much coffee this morning.
Everyone should have in front of you a agenda.
Not a
Agenda on your review. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chair, make a recommendation that we accept the agenda as
Sir, have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation that the board adopt the consent and approve.
have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Move on to consent agenda is approved, agenda is approved, and so we will move on to executive session items. I'll ask Mr. Benton if there are any recommendations related to case number 2023-40.
We recommend that state board of education.
Recommendation, I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay.
We recommend that the state board of education reverse the decision of the local board in case number 2023-46.
Recommendation, do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We recommend that the state board of
Recommendation, do I have a second? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I request a roll call vote.
All right. Do a roll call.
I mean, on discussion, obviously we can't, but, you know, we talked about this in executive session. We're dealing with it, I mean, we're in a tough place right now with, obviously can't talk about any of the children or any specifics to that, but about the overarching parts of this case where we're dealing with, you know, what are substances coming into our, you know, yeah, I mean, some of them so bad. Where's the line? We've got to try to help, I think, give guidance to our schools in there with regards to tidying up the wording on this. Because some of the wording is so vague on what are banned substances or bans and what are illegal substances and what, in this case, say, pretty easy to say that is a substance that shouldn't be in school. But and I used the analogy of yesterday of the Celsius drinks. NCAA has banned them in competition. So is that now a banned substance in schools? Where the kid has that, is that a performance-enhancing drug? We're just really in a spot where we are in time with vaping and gummies and drinks and all these other things. What's really, what is acceptable and what's not? And I think we, the State Board of Education, really have to help apply some common sense to these things and help the districts. And we're the barrier. We're the last stop to try to apply some common sense to this. So, and I've been thinking about this one a lot last night, and I'm still not sure right now even how I want to vote on this. But this is, I feel for some of these schools and some of these resource officers and trying to figure this one out. So that's all I got to say.
Well, any further discussion? All right, there's been a motion and a second. I'll remind everyone what we are voting on. It's recommended the State Board of Education reverse the decision looking for case number 2023-47. So if you vote yes, you're voting to reverse the decision. If you vote no, you're voting against reversing that decision. Is everyone clear? Okay. And there has been a request for a roll call vote, so I will begin with that. Dr. DeJarn.
Yes.
Ray, why don't we start with that?
I mean, I can come back with it if you'd like.
No.
Mr. Mason.
No.
Donaldson.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Ms. Rice?
No.
Ms. Gilmore?
No.
Wait, Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Yes. I will vote yes as well. All right. With 5 yes votes and 7 no votes, motion failed. I don't believe Martha, have you joined us? Martha had texted earlier, she did not think she'd be able to join us today, so we only have 12 because Ms. Petty is absent. So there are only 12 votes and 5 yeas and 7 nays. Okay. Move on to the next agenda item, which is
Point of order, do we need a motion to affirm?
okay. We need a motion to affirm. I'll entertain a motion to affirm the ruling. Motion. Again, and just to be clear, we're voting to affirm 2023-47. Case number 2023-47. And you've made a motion to affirm, Mr. Donaldson. Yes, sir. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Is everyone clear what we're voting for? Now, we voted to reverse. Now we're voting to affirm. Okay? All right. Mr. Donaldson, are you requesting a roll call vote for this one? I am. Okay. Okay, fair enough. All right. Vote the same way after we adjourn.
No.
Yes.
Mr. Roy?
Mr. Mason.
We're voting to affirm?
Yes, voting to affirm. Mr. Donaldson.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott. Yeah. Ms. Rice.
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore. Mr. Sweet. No. Mr. Griffin. No as well. That's right. Okay. And it passes 7-5. Shocking. So that's the reverse of the other. Right, fair enough. All right. All right. Anything else procedurally, Ms. Super Drake, we need to do on that? Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move forward on the agenda. We have one item that was pulled for separate discussion in the Rules Committee, and I will ask Mr. Mason to give us an update on that and guide discussion.
Yes, it is the item on the testing program, the student assessment. We're recommending that we table this item. We want to allow staff some time to be able to look at that definition of universal screener. We already had some discussion about the language, but it's not going to affect the timeline. And I believe Ms. Towns has already checked on it.
Okay, good. Recommendation offered to table this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion, any questions about what we're doing? All right, there's been a motion and a second to table this item. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, guys, let's take. All right, at this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent to see if he has anything for the superintendent's report.
We have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. All right, it's time for the chair's report, and we do have a special guest with us today, Mr. Scott Johnson from the Literacy Council. I asked Mr. Johnson to join us today. Just give us a brief update about what's going on, what the next steps are for the Literacy Council, and if anybody's got any questions. Again, we're lucky enough to have a member on the Literacy Council, as prescribed by law, that will give us reports, and we've already gotten reports from Stan. We appreciate that. So, Scott?
I guess this is the right place. This is the right place.
That's the right place.
Well, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Superintendent Woods and members of the board. I'm so honored to be with you today, and it's a historic occasion because it is, am I right? Certainly not in my 10 years on the board. We didn't have a meeting outside of it, of the state capitol, because it wasn't allowed. So the rules changed. Great job on leading that. And now we can meet in a beautiful place like this. Not only a historic occasion, but it's such a historic place, as we all know. The last time I was here, I saw some amazing students walk across this stage that are sight impaired, but they're the energy and the enthusiasm they had for life and for the thing they're going to do next was not impaired at all. And so I know that that some of you will be here in May to witness that sort of thing, that same sort of thing, and I encourage you to do that. One of the great things I've got to do when I sat among you. Who would have thought a year ago that when I was seated with you all that I would be here speaking to you all, but today. But at that time, we would have no idea that Georgia would, our legislature, our lawmakers would pass such groundbreaking legislation, much needed guidance to help our state, our future, our students, which are our future, to become to be ready to serve and be ready to work by making sure they can read. And that's what we got in a couple of bills that the legislature passed, House Bill 538, Bethany Ballard's, Representative Bethany Ballard's bill that was passed, and then Senate Bill 211 as well, Senator Billy Hickman's bill. And what I'm excited about is those bills passed equally, bipartisan, and because every member voted to create the Georgia Council on Literacy, and that's energy. That's clear. That's clear what the lawmakers in this state that represent the people of the state want to happen. And House Bill 538 passed unanimously in the House, and all but one vote in the Senate. That's pretty darn clear what the intentions of our leaders in the state. It's got great support from our state leaders. It has enthusiasm from the governor, and the lieutenant governor and the speaker, all of whom appointed members to this council. 30 members on the Georgia Council for Literacy, the Georgia Council on Literacy, and the 12 appointed by the governor. If you're not aware, I'll give you a little bit background. 12 appointed by the governor, 9 by the speaker, and 9 by the lieutenant governor. But some great talent, just some amazing people from across this state who all have a similar or single purpose, really, to make sure that Georgia continues to lead by making sure that Georgians can read. It's that simple. And I know that, sometimes I come before a group that, since I've been doing this, I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I have to explain to them why we need to do this. I don't have to explain it to you. You live it. You know it. You know it. And I don't care if it's, I'm not going to quibble if it's a third of our kids aren't reading on grade level, if it's 2/3, because that's not acceptable, right? And so we're going to, with your help, because you've got a role in this state board to lead this forward and make it happen. It's not it's an important issue to the education of our children, of our state, but it's an economic development issue, right? It's like, and I said it at the opening meeting. We all drove to Macon, except for you just like went around the corner, Mr. Chairman, and you probably drove by cranes and fields that were being graded that may have had one purpose, maybe a forest or a farm field, not many days ago, but now it's a distribution center, or it's some sort of factory or industrial purpose, and that's jobs, right? But to make sure that we can fill those jobs, we've got to make sure that our students are ready, and it's not just reading, but I'll tell you, reading is the basis for all of it. because because when we undertake to make sure our kids are ready to read, and our teachers are doing the things, and I know they really want to do those things that will ensure that, then it will change. It will change the future of our state. And when those students can read, science scores are going to go up, and history scores are going to go up, and math scores are going to go up because that's fundamental, right? I mean, that used to be like reading is fundamental. Used to be one of those things I saw when we were kids, right? When it was a slogan. But the energy and the momentum and the enthusiasm for what this council is doing is not lacking anywhere in this state. And I don't have to explain it to you how important it is. Now, I'll tell you, our council is, just a little background, I said it's made up of 30 people that have been appointed. The governor asked me to be the chair. And we had our first meeting at Georgia Southern.
Whoa.
I know that was a very, nearly a very sad show.
Whoa.
The real GSU.
That's what they say, right? The real GSU. We love them all, but we had it at Georgia Southern University.
Thank you.
Go Eagles, is that what it is?
Go Eagles.
All right. And
About that.
We're gonna gather you.
we, a couple of weeks ago on August 7th, and we had not only 28 of our 30 council members and 2 online, so that's great. But we had over 200 stakeholders in the meeting that are so interested in this work and that just showed me we're doing the right thing. This is the right work. I want to thank some of you were able to be there. Ms. Rice, obviously Miss Petty, Mr. Donaldson. Thank you for the thing, and Lisa. Thank you. You're online. That's right. And of course, Mr. DeJarnett, who's a member, Dr. DeJarnett, who's a member of the council, whom we're honored to work with. And we have split the work of the council, and if you may or may not know this, I mean, you might have gotten a clue to it if you were watching the meeting, into 4 working groups, and these are key. And we think that by breaking it into working groups, some members like Dr. DeJarnett are on multiple of these, and I'm on them as well, but specialists from each area. First to 5, because we all know how important that part of brain development is before they ever enter a schoolhouse on an official basis to go to kindergarten. We know that brain development occurs. Most of that brain development has already occurred, and we want to be sure that we're reinforcing the importance of that and how to do it. I met recently or this week with some folks from Wellstar, and they're focused on pediatric literacy and learning things and things that they can help. And then there's many others, but just an example of things that action that's taking place right now. So they can be part of how we help that brain development, help parents realize that they're reading teachers, and help all of us realize that whether you're at home or in the supermarket or wherever you find yourself in, if you're with a child, you're a reading teacher already, and we want to reinforce that and how that happens. The other another working group is the K through 3. That's the heart of it, right? That's really where we will make the difference. We all will make the difference. This is so when we we'll make sure that those third grade that kids can read by the time they leave the 3rd grade, we will affect our future. I don't like to say it like this or think about it like this. It might seem like a small thing, but it's a moonshot. But in the sense that if you're a millimeter off and that child can't read when they leave third grade, it's a bigger problem in the fifth grade. It's a bigger problem in the 10th grade. It's a huge problem in the 12th grade. And frankly, they sometimes never recover. And that's not acceptable for our kids, right? Because we're Georgia. So a millimeter off becomes a mile off, and then become behavior problems. So let's engage us together to make sure those kids can read by the time they leave the third grade, and they're on target to do that. Reading on grade level and reading and ready for their future. The third, another bucket, I would say, or like to say, or working group is professional development for teachers, and that's an important part of what we're going to have to undertake in this state. It's amazing that I talk to teachers that have graduated from our universities that were never taught science of reading. We're never taught structured literacy, which is the basic brain way the brain learns to read. It's not a fad, and it's not going to fade. It's not an FADE, and it's not going to FADE, because it is proven that that's the way the brain learns to read with the components. And I'm not going to go into all those because you know them, some of them, and we could talk about that some other time when we got more time. But it's just a no shame, no blame with teachers, because you can't say why didn't we achieve a result when we didn't prepare them for the result that we expect them to achieve. And so I've sat with you and you say, and I've often said, teachers are my heroes. I wouldn't be here, and nor would you, without great teachers. And so but we realize that we've got to come back and do some development for great teachers that we have in this state, and our state will undertake to do that with your help. And then finally, the fourth working group is community literacy. This is for largely for adults, because some of those folks that we've got to catch up. We want everybody to be a part of Georgia's great future, Georgia's great economy, and some folks we just got to do what it takes to get them caught up and in this game. So those are our four working groups, and those are not. By the way, those are going to be limited to. We've got a lot of brilliance on this council. And then there's me, but we're going to engage stakeholders and people through that spectrum. So we want people to be engaged and be involved that can make a difference. So our next, well, let me say, I told you about our first meeting at Georgia Southern University in Statesboro. And our next meeting will be at Kennesaw State University on October 17th. We're working on the agenda, got some things, great things. I'd invite you to be part of that. Dr. Carrie Wright, who was the superintendent of schools in Mississippi for the Department of Education, during the decade that Mississippi went from, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, went from one of the lowest ranking states for reading to one of the highest. She's going to come and talk about the importance of coaches, literacy coaches, and how just some of the how-to about how they did it. Now we know in Georgia we're the best. So it took 10 years in Mississippi, and by gosh, we don't have 10 years. Okay, we're gonna change. That's a generation. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it well, and we're gonna do it in a collapsed time frame from that, because we're gonna learn from what Mississippi did, and that's why we're bringing Dr. Carrie Wright to Kennesaw. we're gonna focus this locally, focus on some of the things that Marietta City Schools is doing, because they're doing such good work. I have I've been involved in some of their meetings lately, and I'll tell you the key that one key. There's a lot of things that they've done. They've spent their money wisely, which makes a huge difference when you got dollars to spend, and we all know that those COVID related dollars are available or have been available, and they decided we're gonna put $9 million into literacy. Okay, so but here is a key thing that I want you to understand that you'll see about Marietta City Schools. They prioritized it. Everything is you can't go in any of their schools at any level and they're not talking about literacy, and because they realize how important it is. So we'll get a good update from Dr. Grant Rivera and Jaylene Hunter, who is a member of the board member, but also a member of the Marietta City Schools. And then we'll have reports from our 4 working groups. I'm gonna give you my personal invitation to be a part of it. I like to say, and if you've been around me long enough, you heard me say, you can pretend to care, but what? But you can't pretend to show up. I hope you will show up at Kennesaw State University on the 17th of October, because I know you care. So come be with us, and I know you're a part of this effort. So any feedback you've got for our council members, gosh, like I said, you got one of your own members as one of the council members in Dr. Jarnett. Let's do it together. Let's make a difference. Let's make it happen in Georgia. Don't you think we can?
Yes, absolutely.
What else? What questions you got for me? 9 a.m. And it will be in the it's going to be in the convocation center. We may move it because we keep having to make this thing bigger. And they said, well, we can't put you on the basketball court, but it'll be on the campus at Kennesaw State University.
Scott.
Yes, sir.
I had the pleasure to attend the first meeting.
Yes. And
I had not really seen the makeup of the council before. And it's impressive to see House and Senate leadership involved.
It is indeed.
That says something.
It does.
When they're involved, those are the people who can really make things happen. So,
yeah, yes, indeed.
You know, there was a good mix of not just educators, but people who have a personal experience with having someone who can't read in their life, or even I think there was one who struggled with dyslexia, or a couple of people. So I thought it was a great mix of people to try to make things better. So I was impressed. So
Mr. Donaldson, thank you. And I'll tell you, there were two members of the legislature that when the council was first when they first went on the council, they didn't know they had a dyslexic child. But by the time we had our first meeting, they did. Yeah. 2 of them have dyslexia. Those 2 have dyslexic sons, and
those are really personal stories that they told that day. So
yes, indeed.
And yours.
And my grandson Luke, which some of you, thank you for remembering that story. But and when it becomes personal to you, it becomes a passion. So I know you all understand that. What else? Helen.
And I agree with Matt. What a powerful group. And Stan, thank you for sending us those PowerPoints, because I really asked for that. I was hoping Amy would be here and talk about them, but thank you for having those sent to us, because as a board and as a teacher and all of us collectively together, as you were listing those 4 working groups, and you were saying the engagement, we have a big responsibility in some of this, and I think we need to be listening and absorbing everything that we can. Senate Bill 48 with dyslexia, as we all know, and a lot of us were in those sessions, Kenneth, Lisa, we saw that onion peel back. And we've heard from parents and we've heard from our state leaders and our pilot groups and our psychologists. And they were just talking about how, what really helps kids to live. And what we're doing with House Bill 538 are really the tools in the toolkit that are gonna make the biggest difference across our state. Because you can't just sprinkle phonics, you can't just sprinkle things here. But that House bill, for the first time in the state of Georgia, we're gonna have every system working collectively on the same frameworks. And when you thread phonics and phonemic awareness and decoding, that's that mapping of that word, they finally understand, they can really read it. And then all those other elements of spelling and vocabulary and comprehension and listening skills, all of that together, it's threaded from kindergarten on through in a systematic order. And that's what the great, it's ground in science and factual data. So as a board, we're going to be looking at these. We're going to be looking at core instructional materials. Because I looked at that when you said K through 3, and I thought, well, that's going to involve DOE, as we've always worked with them. Local boards, they're going to be reviewing things, but at the end of the day, these core instructional materials are coming to us. And maybe, maybe next month, Jason and Richard, we could have Amy and Stan. I know there's been a website that people could turn things in, and I think the ending date of that was August 31st. August 21st.
What, the next meeting?
No, the website that people could go on and send in information. I think it would, let me see, I wrote it down. It's August the 21st. And then the committee that Amy Foss has put together to look at this, Faust, is going to meet on the 30th. But this is going to involve all of us really understanding what these things mean. And I don't know if Lisa and Scott, you and I were at Cox Campus, and the instructional work that was there for those 16 pilot schools that were coming in for professional learning and learning about the science of reading. So every district's going to have an opportunity to really understand the clarity of what that really means. And I board too, because I think we've heard it, and you're hearing it from the Literacy Council too, but it's a long time since we haven't had textbooks that had the same thing consistent. We've got it. Got a great group working with you. I wanted to ask you one other thing. The Literacy Council with the Alliance, are they just there? Is that going to be, how's that going to work?
Well, the Alliance of Agency Heads has,
It's
it's separate, but certainly in sync. And we're by statute, and I love that this is all by statute. We've got to report out to the governor on a regular basis, and we will do those things. So we won't be working in the dark. And it's going to be open and transparent for everyone to see. Dr. DeJarno?
Helen, each of the 4 working groups is chaired by one of the agencies. So DECAL will oversee the work of the birth to 5, DOE and GOSA will oversee the work of the K-3. Board of Regents or a university system will oversee the Teacher and Professional Development Working Group, and TCSG, Technical College System, will oversee the community side of this. So I think in light of the fact that those agencies are going to be steering and chairing the work of each of the working groups, I think that's going to keep all of the agencies engaged as we move through the work.
That's right. Yeah. Indeed. Well, any other questions or? Well, I'll tell you
Who's on the different groups? Who's on the different groups? Do we know that?
So we're assembling them.
That's right.
But y'all know Miranda Williams, she's at GOSA now, but she's the Georgia literacy coach. She can reach out to her anytime because she's terrific, doing a terrific job. And she can answer questions about those working group makeup and if you've got any recommendations for the council. I'll tell you, so Speaker Burns was at our first meeting, and I will always remember one thing he said, give us the facts. And you know what? That's what, and I committed then. I said, Mr. Speaker, we're going to give you the facts. We're not going to game the numbers, and we're going to be transparent for everybody in this state. But we're going to give you the facts and let you all do the work that you have to do. We're going to do the work we have to do. I know the department's going to do the work that they have to do, and the board is, and we're going to make a difference in the future of the state. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm excited to see how the council can evolve and what to do. And we appreciate the update. Thank you for your service on the council. And for board members, those meetings are open for us. And I know some of us dropped in briefly, some were there. I encourage you all to get involved as Scott challenged us, show up. And I think he's going to do kind of like what we're trying to do with the board meetings, take it around all over the place. So
let me add that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, because we do intend to take these meetings all over the state and focusing particularly on our content of education on those campuses. So I think that's an important component for us to do and for us to be there. So starting these first two, we'll be announcing soon where our 2024 meetings are, and they certainly are local meetings for all of you.
great. Thank you, sir. All right. He was so worked up. Do we have any other comments, questions, concerns for the good of the board?
Mr. Chairman, point of order, I'd like to make sure that we voted on the tabling of the rules committee. Did we vote on that?
We did vote today.
Mr. Sweeney, we did vote. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. So you're the parliamentarian.
Well, he questioned me. I wanted to be sure. So, thanks a lot, Scott.
Hey, listen, everybody keeps everybody in order.
I answered it. Yeah.
Any other comments for the good of the board? Anything at all?
Well, Richard, the funding that we, and the collaboration that we have with Cox Campus, I know you probably got, that was came from DOE with bringing that in, and I'm telling you, it was excellent. I brought something, but I won't do it today. I brought my little pipe cleaners to show you all these things, but I'll show it to you later. We learned that there, but that was a great fit and a great move for us.
Look forward to the partnership.
Yeah.
That's
And it's all free resources too, you know.
I would love for Amy Denty to present to the board.
Yeah.
And to,
She did what pipe cleaners.
yeah, and she did her pipe cleaners. But
a bunch
yeah, everything that's going on with literacy and us moving headfirst and read science and reading. Amy Denty, she's right in the middle of it, and she shared some things at this meeting that we had at the speech school that we hadn't heard before, and I would like for all the board members to hear what's going on concerning that. That would be great to have her on the agenda.
Because those districts that were there, that were learning about the science of reading and the energy, I'm telling you, the energy in that room, and Scott was there, it was so exciting to sit in it, and superintendents were there with us. Oh yeah, and Justin was there with us. I mean, it was, wouldn't you say, Justin, there was some energy in that room that day?
Absolutely. A lot of synergy.
And Amy and April were there, and I'm telling you, those are we got the right people there. But as I said, I would love to hear Amy do a little, she is that literacy person with them. Looks like we can have that next month.
Just wanted to make a point while we're here today in this historic building
Yeah.
here in Macon and at the Georgia Academy for the Blind. Kenneth, myself, and Helen had the opportunity. Actually, we did a board meeting here right when we came on the board. And our retreat was here in Macon that year, and it was hosted by Ms. Wanda Bars and her at her farm, the infamous turkey incident. Leaving from here to her house, I hit a turkey. A turkey flew across the road going to her farm and shattered my windshield on my truck. And that turkey was going with me to her house. And that turkey ended up becoming part of dinner that night. Literally, we ate roadkill at my first retreat. We had roadkill. That was we'll tell you that over a drink after. That's a pretty fun story. But I just want to point out, and because when we came on the board, our state schools were not getting the attention they needed. This auditorium right here was basically almost uninhabitable. There was mold, the seats were old. We would not have been able to have this meeting here. As walking around and then we're doing the tour. There's a building off to the left. Does it still have the swimming pool?
Yeah, they still have the updated.
Well, the children weren't able to really use the swimming pool. The wall that you'll see, the pretty white, I noticed yesterday how nice that wall was about to collapse and the pool was leaking. The infrastructure was just crumbling around here. And I appreciate the work of the legislature. Actually, Robert Dickey, who joined us yesterday, worked great with us and our board to get funds to help Georgia Academy, not just this school, but all the others, to redo this auditorium, to fix the walls. A lot of the dorms needed work. It was on an antiquated old boiler system that, in my opinion, was dangerous. That was all taken away. I just wanted to share, as you go about today, some of the perspective of where this has come, this facility right here, and how important it is. And we are the stewards of we're the board for them. And these, but just as you're going, look at some of that stuff. But it was great to me to walk in and see this great facility, not just for the school, but the community uses this a lot, and they really weren't able to. So just keep that fresh eye. As you walk around today, don't just be a visitor, be an inspector. We are responsible for this. We are the eyes, ears, and we're the board for this. So as you're doing that today, look at that lens as well, I ask you, to see how we can help improve the facility, because we want these kids to be proud of where they go to school. We want to have a safe, productive environment for them where they can thrive. So I just ask you to kind of look at that lens as you walk around.
We really did inspect this, because Mike, you came with,
Oh, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's the end of that.
We were talking about, we really go in, it really was.
Yeah, it was. It was sobering. I use that adjective. Wasn't very happy.
In my first year on the board, I went to all of our state schools and was just so impressed. Because, as you said, they are our students directly. So I think it's important.
They have changed. When I came on the board, I went to the state schools to just to introduce myself. They didn't know everybody, and I've seen the change where it was to where it is and where it's going.
Yeah, we still have a lot of work to do.
I will share this with you for next year, as we begin to put together our schedule for the meetings next year. The idea is that this meeting, the one that we take on the road, so to speak, and this will be the next year's privilege, and I'm just assuming it'll be Dr. Najaric, but I've looked at maybe doing this meeting at another one of our state schools. Because, that's ready-made. We don't have to call up a school system and say, can you make it available? We call the school and say, hey, we want to feature you. We want to showcase your school. And we've got quite a few around the state of Georgia that we can go to and do it. So we're looking at this meeting, the one that we do away from Atlanta next year, at another one of our state schools. So any input you all might have on that would be good as we start to put the meeting schedule together and bring it to the board for approval in December.
Our campus in Cave Spring is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That will be my suggestion. Right? It's gonna be hard for the South Georgia people to get there, but
Yeah.
we can make it right there. It's a
Got
long
you.
way.
Gas is on the right.
It's a long way, but it's.
Yeah. Right, yeah, that's the biggest thing,
in
is
car.
the budget. And it may, and sometimes it may make sense to do it just only one day, if you're gonna try to do that, and do it too early, so that's,
It's funny about this bill.
you could.
And that would be-
But that's where I.
Yeah.
All right, anything else to do on the board? I will entertain a motion to adjourn at this time. All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Adjourned. Thank you all for coming to my fair town. Sorry about the traffic.
Yeah, can you do something about the traffic and find them, that would be great.
Come back in 7 years. We'll see better.